China has stopped issuing short-term visas to individuals from South Korea and Japan in retaliation for COVID restrictions imposed on Chinese travellers. Well, the Chinese officials say it is discriminatory to single out Chinese travellers. Inside China, state media are downplaying risks from the virus. Officials from several major cities and provinces have said the infection rates are past their peak. Well, I'm joined now by the Telegraph's Asia correspondent, Nicola Smith, who is in Seoul. Nicola, thanks very much for joining us today. Can you give us a sense of reaction to this announcement by China?
Well, so far the main reaction has been political. The foreign ministry here has said that they've made their decisions based on science and that it's not a political reaction. And President Yoon has also said, he said yesterday that it was not about politics. It was about protecting the population from COVID and from any risk. There's likely to be a bigger reaction from the business community or the tourism industry as they face the ramifications of what's happened and the inconvenience of not being able to travel on short-term visas to China. But as we've seen over the past few years, there have been huge restrictions in travelling into China anyway. So it's unclear what the immediate impact is going to be.
And do we know what level of travel there is between South Korea and China, presumably for personal and, as you say, business reasons?
Well, we do know that South Korea and Japan are both in the top 5 destinations that Chinese travellers wanted to go to now that the border restrictions have lifted. So the travel between the China and South Korea has been huge. And certainly with the Lunar New Year coming up, there were a lot of tourists who wanted to come here. They still can. They just have to test negative for COVID. And certainly businesses would have been very keen to get their people back into China, where they have not been able to do so during the entire pandemic.
How much worry has there been about potential new variants emerging in China with such large numbers of people having been infected?
I don't think there's a huge amount of concern among the local population. I think there's just more of a desire to have transparent data from China. And that's the key issue, really, that people are wary of the data that is coming out of Beijing. South Korea was obviously one of the countries that was hit first during the pandemic, when the pandemic started in January 2020, and South Korea was one of the first countries outside of China that really had to deal with an outbreak. So there's definitely a sense of wariness about new variants, about what the huge surge in a neighbouring country could mean for South Korea. South Korea has been battling its own waves, and it's been doing so very well with the help of medical intervention and good vaccination coverage. But the information that's coming out of China is just so vague that people are worried about what is happening there and the immediate impact it could have on South Korea.
Nicola Smith in Seoul from the Telegraph. Thanks very much indeed for joining us.